I used to think betrayal would feel like getting struck by lightning, sharp, sudden, blinding. Turns out, it's more like a slow leak in your gut. You don't notice it at first. You're too busy admiring the walls of the life you've built, sipping wine in the house you thought was bulletproof. Then one day, you look down and realize you've been bleeding trust for years. Let me rewind. It started on a beach. Yeah, cliché, I know. But it wasn't some sappy love story with waves crashing and seagulls making heart-shaped flight patterns. No, it was a charity volleyball tournament, the kind of event where people pretend they're athletes and drink like they're not. That's where I met Emily. She dove for the ball like it owed her money, and I spiked it like I had something to prove. We won. Then we won again. And at some point between high-fiving sweaty strangers and sharing fries under a beach umbrella, I convinced myself she was the one. It wasn't just her looks, though. Let's be honest. The woman could have walked off a fitness magazine cover and no one would have questioned it. It was her energy. Magnetic. She lit up a room the way only people with very little guilt in their soul can. But I didn't know that yet. I was smitten. We dated, moved in, bought a house that looked great in Christmas cards. I'm in software development, she was in technical equipment sales, and together we built a very convincing picture of happy. The kind of couple friends envied and strangers assumed had it all figured out. She called me her rock. I called her my spark. And for a long time, we made sense. Or at least I thought we did. Now, here's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. The cracks don't show up all at once. They hide behind smiles. They whisper through locked phone screens and gym bags packed a little too carefully. And they always show up dressed like coincidence. The first time I noticed something strange, I shrugged it off. I needed a photo from her phone for a work presentation. She'd always let me use it. No big deal. But this time, Face ID didn't work. I got the cold shoulder from her iPhone, twice. That's when I asked her casually, "Did you change your settings?" She paused. Too long. "Oh, yeah," she said, drying a plate for the third time in a row. Just for security. I wanted to believe her. So I did. But a small voice in my head, the one I usually drown out with logic, asked, "Security from who, exactly?" I didn't press her that night. I told myself I was being paranoid. After all, we were fine. Weren't we? Truth is, the fire hadn't gone out. But it had started flickering, and I was the only one holding the matchbook. A few weeks after the phone incident, things got weird. Not aliens in the backyard, weird. More like, why does my wife smell like a different cologne every other Tuesday, weird. I came home from work one evening, tossed my keys in the bowl like I always do, and found Emily in the kitchen dressed like she was about to be interviewed on a podcast called CEO Energy. Hair done, heels on, makeup flawless. And all this to run errands. "Where are you going?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Target," she said. "And then maybe the bookstore." Right. Because when I think of grabbing laundry detergent and browsing the self-help aisle, I always reach for my $300 blazer and red lipstick. I didn't say anything, just nodded like a fool and watched her leave. Then I stood in that kitchen for a good 10 minutes, listening to the silence she left behind. That's when I started noticing the patterns. The work trips that popped up last minute. The way she tilted her phone away from me when texting. The new lingerie that never made its way into our bedroom rotation. And the laughter, God, the laughter, that used to be reserved for late-night talks in bed now lived in her voice when she was texting someone else. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I did it. I snooped. Her laptop was open one night when she was in the shower. Just a few taps. Nothing invasive, just light curiosity with a dash of self-preservation. She was logged into her email. That's when I saw the thread. Subject line, tomorrow night clinking glasses. His name was Dylan. The emails weren't explicit, not enough to frame her in court, but the subtext was clear. Words like, "our spot," and "you looked amazing in that dress," don't usually show up in an email chain between coworkers, at least not the ones trying to stay employed. One email even ended with, "Still thinking about last Thursday. Let's make this one even better." I stared at the screen, heart pounding, ears ringing. I didn't need a polygraph or a private investigator. The truth was right there in black and white. But here's where it gets tricky. I didn't confront her. Not yet. You see, confrontation gives them power. It gives them time to prepare. I wasn't interested in hearing lies wrapped in tears or rehearsed monologues about it didn't mean anything. I was interested in knowing how deep the rabbit hole went. Because if I was going to get burned, I wanted to know exactly how far the fire had spread. So I made a decision. I would play along. Smile at dinner. Text her, I love you, like nothing had changed. Be the husband she thought she'd broken. Because I wasn't just looking for closure. I was planning a storm. You ever walk into a room thinking you're the husband in a rom-com, only to find out you're actually the punchline in a Shakespearean tragedy? Yeah, that was me. Friday night. Emily had sent me a message earlier in the week, something about dinner with a colleague. Nothing formal, she said. Just want you to meet someone from work who helped me land a big client last quarter. Translation. I was about to get paraded in front of the man she was cheating on me with, like a clueless exhibit. I should have stayed home. Should have said no. But instead, I shaved, put on a clean shirt, and walked straight into the fire, grinning like a man who didn't know he was the entertainment. The restaurant was one of those upscale places with candles on every table and wine lists that came with their own table of contents. She was already seated when I arrived, Emily, glowing, radiant, laughing a little too loudly. Next to her sat the guy, Dylan. I recognized him immediately from the email signature. Tall, smug, the kind of guy who probably says, bro, and means it. He wore a tight black shirt like it came with a six-pack and a superiority complex. His hand hovered just close enough to Emily's to say we're more than colleagues, but far enough to pretend otherwise. Logan, Emily said sweetly, motioning to the chair across from them. This is Dylan. I've told you about him. Yes, she had. Repeatedly. The genius, the lifesaver, the guy who really understands me. The first few times she mentioned him, I thought nothing of it. By the 20th, I had a dartboard with his name on it. I sat down, smiled, ordered water I wasn't going to drink. That's when Dylan leaned in, his tone casual, but his eyes locked onto mine like we were sizing each other up in a silent chess match. I'll make this simple, he said, swirling his wine. You've got two options, Logan. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. Emily didn't even flinch. She just smiled. That smile she used to reserve for me. The one that used to mean we're in this together. Now it meant I'm already gone. I stared at him. At her. At the two of them. The air was thick with tension, the kind you could cut with a salad fork. You think I'll just crawl out of here, I said, and let you play house with my wife. Dylan's smirk deepened. I smiled back. Calm. Cold. You want your teeth whole or in pieces? That's when I stood up. And I'll spare you the details, but let's just say the table ended up sideways, Dylan ended up horizontal, and the lobster bisque ended up on Emily's white dress. People screamed. Waiters rushed in. Security dragged me out with blood on my shirt and glass in my knuckles. Emily stood there frozen shocked, maybe? Or maybe just angry that her two worlds had collided and one of them had fists. Outside, the cold bit through my shirt. I stood there for a moment, staring at the door I'd just been thrown out of. And here's the part one can't forget. I didn't feel rage. I felt clarity. Because it hit me then, this wasn't the beginning of the betrayal. It was the final act. Emily had rehearsed this. She dressed for it. She brought me to that restaurant not to introduce me to Dylan, but to humiliate me. To push me out of her world while making it look like I pushed myself. But I wasn't broken. No, I was wide awake. And the show? Oh, the show was just getting started. That night, the house didn't feel like home. It felt like a museum exhibit, the life of a married man who didn't see it coming. Every picture on the wall, every throw pillow she picked out, every toothbrush in the holder suddenly felt like evidence in a crime scene I hadn't realized I was living in. I stood in our bedroom doorway and just stared. The bed was made. Two made. Emily never made the bed like that. Hospital corners. Crisp sheets. It looked like a hotel. And maybe that was the point, like she was getting ready for someone else to check in. I sat on the edge of it, hands still aching from Dylan's jaw, and I just listened to the silence. It was loud. Louder than her voice ever was when she'd tell me she loved me. And definitely louder than the excuses she hadn't yet rehearsed for what happened at dinner. Then my phone buzzed. Emily, you didn't have to do that. You embarrassed yourself. That was it. No, are you okay? No, let's talk. Just a digital scolding from the woman who used to trace hearts on my arm in bed when she couldn't sleep. I didn't respond. I turned off the screen, dropped the phone on the dresser, and opened the drawer where we kept our joint documents. The boring stuff, tax returns, health insurance, the emergency binder she made during her ultra-organized phase. And tucked at the back, a folder with her name on it. Work, confidential. I don't know what made me open it. Maybe I was looking for something real. Something that said this was never what you thought it was. Maybe I just wanted confirmation that I wasn't insane. Inside were printouts, meeting schedules, client rosters, Some names I recognized from stories she'd told me over wine while pretending to care what I thought. One stood out. Dylan. A highlighted itinerary. Miami conference. Room 805. 5 nights. The date? 2 weeks before the dinner. I laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, but because the universe really does love a punchline. She was in Miami the week my mother had her surgery. She'd sent me a selfie from the hotel gym, captioned, "Thinking of you. Hope everything's okay with your mom." Now I knew who took the picture. The next morning, Emily came home. She walked in like a guest. Hair tied up, sunglasses on indoors, phone glued to her palm like it was fused there. She barely glanced at me sitting at the kitchen table. "You're here," she said. "I live here." Her lips tightened. She looked around like she was bracing for more chaos. "About last night." "Don't." She blinked. "Don't what?" "Don't apologize. Don't explain. Don't pretend you're sorry. Let's just skip the pageantry." Emily set her purse down slowly, like she was weighing it against what it would cost to stay in this room with me 5 minutes longer. "I never meant for it to go down like that," she said finally. "That's where we differ," I replied, sipping my coffee. "I think you meant every part of it." Silence. Then she sighed and leaned against the counter. "I haven't been happy for a long time, Logan." And instead of saying that, I said evenly, "You chose dinner and a demolition." She looked away. I saw it in her eyes, regret, maybe, or just frustration that her plan didn't go as smoothly as the Pinterest board she probably made for it. "Dylan and I." I held up a hand. "Stop." She paused. "I don't care how it started. I care how it ends." Emily's eyes narrowed. She was used to the old me. The patient me. The "let's fix this" guy who read relationship blogs and booked couples massages. This wasn't him. This was the man who had nothing left to lose. "I'll stay in the guest room tonight," she said after a pause. "Good," I replied. "Because the master bedroom's for people who don't lie." After she left the kitchen, I went back to my plan. I'd been thinking about it all night. See, most people, when they find out they've been cheated on, they either blow up or break down. I'd done both, at dinner, in private. But now, I was cold, focused. Emily loved appearances. She loved being the golden girl on social media, date night selfies, vacation stories, so blessed captions. So that's where I started. I went through every photo she'd posted in the past 6 months. I traced the captions, geotags, timestamps. And I noticed something. She always cropped out one drink from the frame. She always filtered out the clues. But she missed one. A post from Miami. Sunset photo. 2 glasses. 1 reflection. Dylan. His dumb, gym-polished face caught faintly in the reflection of the window. It was enough. I spent the next week being the man she thought she had broken. I washed dishes. I made her coffee. I kissed her on the cheek in front of neighbors and smiled at her parents when they visited. And every night, when she went to sleep, I built my case. Emails, printouts, photos, a timeline. And one last thing, a quiet meeting with a lawyer friend. We drafted a letter. Not a divorce filing. No, not yet. This was something different. A proposition. Emily didn't know it yet, but she was about to find out just how much damage a calm man with a broken heart can do. Because I wasn't going to scream. I was going to outplay her. And it started with an envelope. A manila one, left neatly on her pillow. Emily found it just before midnight. I'd been in the garage, pretending to reorganize my tools. An old ritual that used to be therapy, back when my life felt stable and my marriage felt real. The night was quiet, except for the soft thud of her footsteps crossing the upstairs hallway. Then silence. Then Logan. Her voice called down like she wasn't sure she had the right to. She did, but barely. I didn't answer. She came halfway down the stairs, envelope in hand, her eyes flashing something between confusion and dread. "What is this?" I looked up from a set of pliers I hadn't touched in 10 minutes. "What does it look like?" She opened her mouth, shut it, then waved the envelope. "It's not a divorce notice," she said. "Nope. But it's something." Now she was scanning my face like I was a foreign language she used to be fluent in, but couldn't quite translate anymore. I stood, wiped my hands, and walked past her into the kitchen without a word. I poured a glass of water and waited. She followed, envelope still clenched in her manicured fingers like it might bite. "I'm not playing games, Logan." I smirked. "You already did. For months. I'm just responding." She slapped the envelope on the kitchen island. "Then just say it. What is this supposed to be?" I sipped my water, looked her dead in the eyes. It's your invitation to start over. Clean. Publicly. She blinked. Start over with you? I laughed. Not bitter. Just tired. No, Emily. With him. Dylan. Or whoever's next. But you're going to do it honestly. Her brows furrowed, but I could see the nerves building. She opened the envelope again, scanning the pages she had skimmed the first time. The top page was a draft press release. Very neat. Very PR polished. Very Emily. After much reflection and growth, Emily and Logan have decided to part ways amicably. The couple thanks their friends and family for their love and support. Below that, a printout of her Miami hotel reservation, paid with our joint credit card. And under that, the photo, the one with Dylan's reflection in the glass. I hadn't added captions. I didn't need to. She looked up slowly. This is blackmail. No, Emily. This is clarity. She scoffed, folding her arms. So what? You want to control how this ends? Make me the villain in your little heartbreak monologue. I stepped closer, my voice calm. Measured. I'm offering you something you didn't offer me, dignity. A story that keeps you on the pedestal you love so much. You can announce the split on your terms. Keep your followers. Keep your friends. You even get to keep the narrative. And if I don't, she asked, lips tight. Then I let the truth leak. Slowly, one drop at a time. She tilted her head. You do that to the woman you loved? I looked at her for a long moment. No, I'd do it to the woman who loved someone else and didn't have the decency to tell me. Her eyes dropped to the floor. Silence thickened. For the first time since the dinner disaster, I saw her facade crack, not a collapse, just a flicker. Doubt. Fear. Maybe, under it all, a hint of shame. I didn't want it to be like this, she whispered. Neither did I said. But here we are. So let's skip the dramatics. Sign the release. We announce it together. Clean break. No war. And if I don't? She asked again, quieter this time. I walked to the fridge. Opened it. Pulled out a second folder I had tucked between the milk and the leftover lasagna she made 2 weeks ago, trying to pretend we were still normal. This, I said, holding it out. She took it. Opened it. Inside was everything else. Screenshots of texts I had pulled from a synced cloud account she forgot to unlink. A financial audit of her use of our joint accounts, hotel dinners, spa charges, gifts that didn't go to me. A printed email exchange where Dylan, poor fool, joked about how dumb I must be to not have figured it out sooner. Her face went pale. I could practically see her heartbeat in her neck. You were building this the whole time? She whispered. No. I started building it the moment you made a fool of me in public. She looked down at the table, her hand tightening around the folder. And what do you want? She said, voice thin. I already told you. Sign the release. You get your version of the ending. Or I go with mine. Her lips pressed into a line. And if I call a lawyer? I shrugged. Then I guess your influencer deal with that home design company ends in scandal. And your little empowerment podcast, you keep mentioning dies before it starts. No one wants a self-made queen who torches her marriage and brags about it in hotel sheets. She winced. That one hit. Not because I was cruel. Because it was true. I softened my voice, just slightly. Emily, I'm not out to destroy you. I just want out, with my head held high. You cheated. You lied. That part's done. But how this ends? That part's still up to you. She nodded slowly, eyes damp but not crying. Give me till the weekend, she said. You've got till Friday. I left her in the kitchen, still standing there with both folders. She didn't follow me this time. Didn't ask for a hug. Didn't try to twist the knife with some half-hearted guilt trip. She just stood there, exactly where I wanted her. And for the first time in months, I went to bed and actually slept. Friday came. Emily signed. She did it in the kitchen, same spot she'd left her dignity marinating in passive aggression the week before. No fanfare. No final plea. Just a blue ink signature on the release draft and a silence that felt like someone had finally unplugged the tension machine we'd both been running on fumes. I'm keeping the dog, she said, sliding the paper across the counter like a poker chip. You never liked the dog, I replied. I like him now. I leaned back in my chair and studied her. Hair curled. Neutral lipstick. No ring. She looked more like an actress wrapping a role than a wife ending a marriage. You're keeping him, I said finally. But not because you like him. Because he likes me. And you can't stand the idea of anything choosing me over you. She didn't respond. Just tapped the pen twice on the table, stood up, and walked out. No goodbye. Not even a door slam. The release went live that afternoon. It hit Instagram first. A joint photo from our vacation in Colorado back when we still took pictures and meant them. The caption, worded carefully. After years of love, laughter, and shared memories, we've made the difficult decision to part ways. This choice comes with mutual respect and the hope for each other's happiness moving forward. Please honor our privacy as we navigate this next chapter with grace. Grace. Yeah, that's one way to spell damage control. Her followers lit up the comments with a predictable mix of wishing you both peace and new, not you too. Meanwhile, I refreshed my inbox and watched as a few old friends, ones who hadn't called in months, suddenly remembered I existed. Man, I had no idea. You two always seemed solid. That's the thing about facades. They're built to hold up under pressure, right until they're not. The next part of my plan wasn't about Emily anymore. It was about me. Because while she was busy curating closure in a linen dress with a tearful filter, I was redecorating. Symbolically and literally. First thing to go? The headboard. I took a sledgehammer to it. Not out of anger, just practicality. I didn't need the thing she picked out because it gives the room symmetry. Next, the wedding photos. Into a box. No fire. No dramatic curbside dump. Just a firm burial in the attic. Sentiment, after all, has an expiration date. Mine had passed. And then I made the call. Riley, you still got that connection at the Daily Echo? My friend chuckled on the other end. Depends. You finally ready to leak something spicy? I've got a story. Names changed. Dates blurred. But the truth's in there. You writing it yourself? Damn right I am. Because here's the thing. Emily tried to control the narrative, and she did a decent job. But people forget, I'm a software engineer who dabbled in writing before I ever wrote a line of code. And heartbreak? That's a hell of a muse when you're done bleeding and start creating. 2 weeks later, the piece went live under a pen name, The Dinner Where I Was the Side Dish. It wasn't a tell-all. It was a tell-enough. A man reflecting on the subtle erosion of love, the public unraveling of a marriage, and what it feels like to be replaced before you even realize there's a vacancy. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't angry. It was honest. And apparently, honesty's rare enough to go viral. People started sharing it, tagging it, debating it. The comments flooded in. This guy gets it. She brought him to dinner to break up? That's cold. Can we get a part two? Even a few messages slid into my DMs. Women, mostly. Some just offering solidarity. One in particular stood out. Jess, I've never read something that captured what it feels like to be betrayed while everyone around you thinks you're fine. I've been there. Thank you for putting words to it. I didn't reply right away. Didn't want to blur the line between connection and rebound. But I kept the message. Because not all reminders of your past have to hurt. Then came the twist. Emily texted me. You wrote that, didn't you? No hello. No pretense. I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed back. Why? Feeling exposed? No. Just annoyed that people think I'm her. That made me laugh. Really laugh. Not the tired kind. The free kind. You are her, Emily. That was always the problem. She never responded. And that was the real ending. Not the dinner. Not the release. Not the signature. But that message. The final period on a long, run-on sentence of denial, delusion, and entitlement. It's strange what betrayal teaches you. Not about them, about you. You learn how far you'll bend before you break. You learn that love, when weaponized, can be more dangerous than hate. And most of all, you learn that silence, used right, can be louder than revenge. I never needed to destroy Emily. She did that herself. All I did was hand her the mirror. And now? Now I sleep in the middle of the bed. I walk past couples and smile, not bitter, not envious, just aware. And sometimes, when the light hits just right, I catch a glimpse of myself in a store window and think, damn, he made it out. Healing doesn't happen like they say it does. There's no clean arc. No 3-step process where you meditate, journal, and suddenly wake up emotionally detoxed. Real healing feels like patchwork. Some days you stitch. Other days you bleed through the thread. After the article, after the silence from Emily, and after I finally put the dog's chew toy in my sock drawer because I was the one actually walking him, life started to settle. Kind of. Friends started reaching out more. Some because they cared. Some because they wanted the tea. You learn who's in your corner real quick when your life goes viral in metaphor. My mom, God bless her, sent me homemade cookies with a note that read, next time, find someone who deserves your heart and your cholesterol. Even my boss pulled me aside one day. You good, man? I nodded. You ever want to work remote for a bit? Clear your head. You've got the green light. So I did. 2 weeks in the mountains. Just me, my laptop, and the sound of wind reminding me that nature doesn't care if you've been cheated on. It just is. That kind of indifference is healing in itself. I was almost out. Almost. Then she called. It had been nearly 3 months. My phone lit up with her name, and for a second, I hesitated. Not out of hope. Just muscle memory. I answered. Hey, she said, voice softer than I remembered. How's the dog? He misses someone who never really walked him. But he's surviving. She laughed. The kind of laugh people use to pretend things aren't as broken as they are. I've been thinking about you, she said. Interesting. I've been thinking about me, too. She sighed. I didn't call to fight. You didn't call to apologize either. Silence. Then, I made a mistake. No, Emily. You made a series of very informed decisions. Mistakes or typos. You printed a whole novel. She tried to pivot. Said she missed the way I listened. Said Dylan wasn't what she thought. I let her talk. Then I ended it like this. You didn't choose me when you had me. You don't get to choose me now that I've chosen myself. She didn't call again. And that's when I knew closure isn't something someone gives you. It's what you give yourself when you stop needing their permission to be whole. 6 months later, I met Jess. Yes, that Jess from the message after my article. We met for coffee. No expectations. No big declarations. She wore sneakers and no makeup and told me her worst date story before the espresso cooled. And for the first time since my life detonated over dinner, I laughed so hard my ribs hurt. She wasn't a rebound. She was a reminder that sometimes good things show up quietly without needing to prove themselves. We didn't rush it. Didn't post about it. Didn't try to convince the world of anything. We just existed. Together. One night, I told her everything. The dinner. The punch. The press release. Even the line about the dog sock drawer. She smiled and said, "You've got great timing. You ever think about stand-up?" I chuckled. No, but I do know how to sit through betrayal without flinching now. She held my hand across the table. You didn't sit through it, she said. You walked through it. You've been waiting for the revenge. The part where I burn her reputation to the ground. The moment I sue her for emotional damages or air her dirty laundry on a billboard off I-95. But that's the thing about revenge, real revenge. It's not always loud. It's not violent. It's not even mean. It's elegant. And sometimes, it sounds like nothing at all. Here's what I did. I lived well. Better than I ever did when I was loving someone who treated me like an understudy in her main show. I started a podcast, Heartbreak with Humor, where I turned my pain into punchlines. It exploded. People wrote in. Cheated on teachers. Divorced dads. Even one grandmother who said, "You're like Dr. Phil if you stop being polite." I signed a book deal. Told my story in full. Gave every betrayed soul a reason to laugh and breathe again. And Emily? Well, she heard about it. Saw the interview clips. Saw the New York Times list. She emailed me. I hope you're not profiting off a version of me that isn't fair. I didn't reply. Because she was wrong. I wasn't profiting off her. I was thriving off the version of me that survived her. And that's the cruelest revenge of all. No screaming. No lawsuits. Just a man she used to think was disposable. Now untouchable.